Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest Anfield Index and the Pusher podcast. My name's Dan Kennett, and as you might be able to tell already, I'm a little bit under the weather. I'm not feeling the greatest, not in the best of moods, which puts me in the perfect position to do a pod after Nottingham Forest 1, Liverpool 0, and a rather lucky win against West Ham. We have part of the A-team with us, and BA is on his way. Mr. Bad Attitude himself. He's driving home at the moment. He will be with us shortly. But in the meantime, I do have my namesake, Mr. Daniel Rhodes. Good evening, Rhodesy.
Good evening. I hope our analysis is going to suggest that all the Liverpool squad have got what you've got, because you sound a lot worse than you sound.
Well, at least that would be an excuse, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
You know, an actual plausible excuse. But just while we got you there, Rosie, you are back now. Host bit of breaking news on the other work. You are pushing out our sister channel again, Cricket Index.
Yes, the T20 World Cup's on, and we're doing 3 or 4 podcasts a week looking at that. We've got various guests from around the globe from the Cricket Index group. How
many episodes have you done so far?
We've done 2. We did one after Scotland went out with Greg, and then we did an absolute classic yesterday with Adi and Korea on the India-Pakistan game, which was arguably the greatest T20 game of all time.
Yeah, I mean, it's up there with the Australia-South Africa World Cup semi-final, isn't it? That one with the Lance Klusener one, isn't it?
Yeah,
is that good? Yeah, I mean, the biggest sports fixture in world sport, Rhodesy.
It is.
For once, it delivered.
It is, and of course, they're never allowed to play each other. The only time they ever get to play each other is when they just so happen to get drawn against each other in every single knockout competition. Because
ICC sanctioned events only because of the politics.
Billions, over 1 billion people watch or listen to this.
At least, yeah. So a very, very, very bad weekend. I do apologise for any of our Pakistani Liverpool listeners as well. I feel your pain, people. But on the plus side, Rosie, England started off with a win. Nice, good, solid win, especially in the field. They were great, weren't they?
Yeah, Mark Wood bowling at 95 mile an hour. The fastest ever spell of T20 bowling in history.
Wow. Now there's a positive for us. Who would have thought that England would go into a tournament with the fastest bowler in the world and a mystery spinner, Rhodesy?
What's going on in the world?
What is going on? Anyway, that's enough nonsense about cricket. We'll be talking about that in the coming weeks as well.
I'm happy to carry on talking about it, Dan.
Just as a distraction. Well, just wait till Si comes. We can talk about the Yankees getting swept by the Astros. Maybe you'd rather talk about that. But anyway, you just heard him there. It's Dr. Phil Barter. Evening, Phil.
How you doing, mate? You're right.
Anything? How have you been taking your mind off the Reds?
Well, it's half term where I am, so it's been a time with the kids is probably a distraction, which is good, you know. Yeah, but I think I said to Rhodes at the start, Saturdays is difficult with the kids, so I generally only get to watch one half live and then I have to watch the rewatch. But knowing you're getting beat and you're having to watch the second half where you can see the goal, it's been a new level of pain, I have to say. But
a new level of pain. Wow. Yeah, did you do the Y Scout watch? The accelerated highlights.
Yeah, I just did that. Yeah, it's the only way you can fit it in, honestly. Times 2 as well. So
to be honest, highlights in inverted commas. So it probably only took 5 minutes. Yeah. Anyway, but we are a man short. Si is driving home from Derby Ladies training. I think he got kept in late after training, been on the naughty step maybe, who knows. But we are going to rejig the agenda we've already got. And it's already a different agenda to normal because we thought, well, this is such a serious position for the Reds to find themselves in. I don't think we use the C word lightly on this show. I don't think we're prone to hyperbole, but I think we are in a crisis, especially a defensive crisis. And we are going to be bringing in aspects of the West Ham and Forest games, but we are really going to focus on all the issues and the causes to this crisis, and potentially, and then more importantly, look at solutions and how the fuck we get out of this mess. Right, but we are going to start with a deep dive on the defensive crisis, and what we're going to first of all do is we're just going to set out the baseline position of why we're saying this is a crisis and just how bad this is. So, Rhodesy, we are going to just do your match summaries, please, for both games.
Yes.
Just because I think these are quite good examples of, 16 matches now this season.
Yeah.
And these aren't untypical, are they?
No, we've had 16 matches this season. We've already conceded more than 4 big chances in games this season than we have done across any of the full seasons under Klopp.
Wow.
Which is pretty grim. We never usually concede this many. We'll come on to how many has actually been in the average across the games. But yeah, the match summary is down 2.2 non-penalty XG to 1.5 in the West Ham game. Obviously, they missed a pen, so that would have gone on there if you're just looking at straight XG. But we did have 22 shots to 8, 15 shots in the box to 10, 7 shots on target to 3, which is good. But again, the grim reality is we conceded 5 big chances. We had 3 ourselves, but it's not about your shots or getting a lot of 8 and 9% chances. If you concede 5 big chances, you do not deserve to keep a clean sheet. It's virtually unheard of. We had twice as many penalty box touches, which you'd probably expect against the Moyes side, 30 to 15.
Yeah.
And the XG models were all pretty similar, about 2 point...
Were they?
Well, 1.73 for Opta, 1.9 for StatsBomb, 2.47 for Info Goal, 2.3 for Cayley, 2.4 for 538, and West Ham's were pretty similar, 1.1 to 1.7, but there was about 4 at 1.7 for them. Non-shot XG was 2.3 to 0.9 in our favour. So, on the face of it, apart from one start, it's okay, but 5 big chances at home to West Ham, a Moyes team.
Yeah, what was the average of the XG models again?
2.2 to 1.5 non-penalty.
And so basically, when we add in the pen as well, it's over 2 again for the opposition.
Yeah, they've just edged us, really.
Yeah.
And I think Moyes went about 10 games without having 5 big chances combined against us at Anfield across his career. So
I mean, Moyes will never have a better chance to win at Anfield than that.
No, never. But that wasn't as bad as the Forest one. The Forest one,
yay,
was 2.1 non-penalty to 2.2. So similar if you include in the West Ham pen. 15 shots to 10, 14 shots in the box to 6, 7 shots on target each. We did have one more big chance in this game. We had 4 to their 5. Similar amount of penalty box touches. And we had 2.3 non-shot XG to their 0.7. But again, Dan, West Ham had 8 shots, 5 of them were big chances. Notts Forest had 10 shots, 5 of them were big chances. We conceded more than half the shots we conceded in these 2 games were huge chances. And they weren't like really debatable big chances like we've done in the past. Some of them were absolute point blank shots that either Alisson saved or they missed or
they got blocked,
Considering we conceded 1 goal over 10 big chances, what's the likelihood of that?
Very slim.
Highly unlikely. Very, very fortunate not to concede at least 4 across the 2 games.
Yeah.
Well, that's the average, isn't it? You'd say about 10 big chances, you'd say 4, especially if one of them's a pen.
Yeah, that's about right. Yeah, you'd expect to concede 4. And what was the overall average of the XG models again? 2.2 to 2.1.
2.1 to 2.2 in the Forest game.
So, yeah, over the 2 games, we conceded 4.3 and we conceded at 1 actual goal.
Yeah.
So it's worth saying now, because we're not going to having too many positive things to say in this pod, but that scoreline was only kept down, that goals against column was only kept down because of one person, wasn't it, Rosie?
Alisson, yeah. I think he saved 5.
Yeah.
Including a
player of the season.
Yeah. The only one who's in contention. He's like the only nomination.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So those 2 games are really bad, right? But if this was just the only 2 games like this, we'd probably be saying, well, is this a blip? Is this a start of a trend? We wouldn't know. But it's not that at all, is it? Because this is probably the 7th or 8th game this season out of 16 of this magnitude, right, Rosie?
Yep.
So let's the others. We've had Man United.
Yes, we had United.
We lost the XG to Palace, did we?
We lost the XG to United. We lost the XG to Brighton. We lost the XG to City. This is the this was in the period that we're going to come on to when we were.
We were close. It was level XG pretty much with Palace, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah. No, I was looking at that period that you asked me to look at. When we had all the injuries in the COVID season, yeah. In this, let me just get this season up now. It was all matches. We lost the XG to Man United, to Napoli, to Arsenal, Brighton, and Forest.
Yeah, and we've conceded over 2 XG on another couple of occasions as well, including West Ham. So. There was a graphic from Infogol that went viral. That our recent defensive form for the last 6 league games, including Everton, the lowest XG we've had conceded was against Man City with 1.1, which is just nuts. So
6 games of the 16 we've conceded 4 or more big chances. One of them was 6 big chances against, 2 of them were 5 big chances against, and one of them was 9.
Yeah. Okay. So that's pretty horrific. So let's look at those. Let's look at those season level numbers and where we are in the context of the Premier League. Then, Rhodesy, are any alarm bells ringing when we look at our current performance in line with the rest of the league?
Well, I think the comparison is the comparison you asked me to do about the 8.
Well, let's just do this season first, because we are very good, are we? Phil, in terms of on the defensive side, right? We aren't very good this season on the defensive side, are we? In the context of we're bottom half.
We're bottom half. I think Si made a great point in one of our chats. Without Ali, I think we'd be bottom of the table.
No, we wouldn't. I think that's hyperbole.
All right. Well, we'd be nearer the bottom than we are at the top.
Could be in the relegation zone.
We'd be in the relegation zone because there's games at West Ham. He saved us. That's the defeat. Yeah. There's several other games that he has basically meant that we've got a point out of the game. Yeah. We've given out too many big chances, too many shots centrally, which we never used to do.
Yeah.
Our average quality of shot is around 10, 15% or whatever. Whereas theirs is a lot higher, if not 20, 30, 20% sort of thing. So and the themes, it just keeps happening. We keep giving up 2, 3 big chances, going up to 5 as a range. The range is huge. As we'll come on to when we're talking about some of the other things you've asked to look at, Darth, is when you get a consistency of performance, you limit your range, you control what's happening. Yeah. There is no control in what's happening. We're going to one game and we'll give up 1 big chance. Go another game, we go up 9. There's no systematic control of what the opposition can do. It's literally what they decide to do on the day. Yeah. And they create, and if they're set up really well, like Brighton is a prime example, they clearly knew what they were doing, had a game plan, executed it, and could have been 3-4 up before we'd even got out of first gear.
Yeah, it's Fulham who have conceded more big chances than us this season. They have conceded. Yeah. We've conceded 31.
There you go.
That's what we're 19th in the league for big chances conceded. That's just ridiculous, isn't it, Rhodesy?
Yeah, absolutely.
In 18-19, I think we only had 38 the entire season.
Yeah.
And we're 31 already this season. Best in the league at Tottenham with 13. We've conceded more than Palace, than Leeds, than Forest, than Leicester, than Brendan. We've conceded more than Brendan.
Yeah.
And they're having a shocking season. Many of those teams you mentioned, Darth, ones we all sat there and gone, they're going to be fighting relegation, right?
Yeah. And I guess the other one is pens as well. I mean, obviously we're covering the 2 games here, and we did concede the fifth penalty in 14 games this season.
But that doesn't that feed into one of the themes that we have chatted about, which is individual basic errors.
Yeah, individual mistakes. Yeah,
individual mistakes.
Yeah. My only point about not being in the relegation zone is our defensive numbers this season, and we're going to come on to it in even more depth, are absolutely relegation levels. There's no argument with that. But we've also created the second most big chances. So I think we're about where we deserve to be. Maybe a bit lower without Alisson, but maybe a bit higher if people had scored more with the big chances, because we missed a lot of them.
Yeah.
The thing I was going to do, which I just don't have time today, but I was going to run a MC on our XGA and XG and see how many goals we should have conceded.
Oh, yeah. Monte Carlo. Sorry, I just haven't had time. I might run it in the week and post it in the chat, but because then I thought that would give us, that would remove the random and say, right, how many should we have conceded? So the other thing I asked Rhodesy to do in preparation for this, and he kindly did so, was just to look at some recently relegated teams in the Premier League, particularly the team that finished 18th in the last relegation spot. It's just so we can't be accused of being full of hyperbole here about where we are with this. So, Rosie, what did you find?
Yes, so I went back to 17-18 and up to the present day. The 5 teams that have been relegated have been Swansea, Cardiff, Bournemouth, Fulham and Burnley last season. Goals conceded per game, we're conceding 1.18 this season, 1.13 in that terrible period in the COVID season where we lost about 5 at home in a row. And the relegated teams is between 1.47 for Swansea and the worst team with Cardiff at 1.82. So we're not quite as bad as them. The XG against per game, the worst was Burnley at 1.71 last season, and we're at 1.33 this season. Fulham went down with 1.4 XG against per game. So we're nearly at relegation levels for XG again. But
we're about what? We're about 15 to 20% below that relegation levels on XG conceded.
Yeah. And obviously relegated sides are going to concede a lot more shots because they've got different tactics and stuff. They range between 14 and 15 shots per game. We're conceding 10 shots a game. So it's not the shots.
No.
What it is, and we've already touched on it, the big chances. And the worst team in 18th position to get relegated was Cardiff, and they were conceding 2.42 big chances a game. We're conceding 2.82. So we are bottom of the table standard for big chances conceded. Yeah. That's how bad it is. In the season where, under COVID, so it was, you've asked me to do from Boxing Day, the West Brom game.
Yeah.
That Fulham defeat at home, the 1-0 defeat.
Yeah, I think we had 2 wins in 13 matches.
Yes, we had 2 wins. We scored at 0.73 goals a game. But we only conceded 1.8 big chances a game, so it was nowhere near as bad as this season defensively. Yeah.
So what we're saying is that period was quite good compared to current levels of performance.
Yeah, well, we lost 4-1. So we lost 4-1 at home to City, and they had 5 big chances. Yeah. We lost away at Leicester 3-1. They had 4, and we lost 2-0 at home to Everton. Oh my God! And they had 4. The rest of them, it was just 1 and 2 or 0.
That was more about the attack, wasn't it? That period was we just couldn't score, could we? And then we were as
bad as it gets defensively.
We were mediocre defensively, but we were really bad defense. We couldn't score, but yeah. Wow.
So it doesn't 2.82 big chances a game this season in the league. It doesn't get any worse than this.
So I think fair to say, Phil, it's the baseline performance is almost as bad as it could possibly get.
I was going to say, let's hope it doesn't get any worse, because if you go to 3, that's it doesn't bear thinking about getting worse from this position. It really doesn't.
All right. So we got Sai is now available. Sai is now home. He's messaged us. Are you on the call, Mr. B?
I've been listening the whole time. I'm back. 5 minutes listening.
Excellent. You weren't on the naughty step, I hope.
No, I was just covering for a boss.
Excellent. Oh, excellent. You're helping out then. And do you want to talk about the Yankees before we start?
I do not want to talk about the Yankees ever.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Should we talk about the Jets?
Screw the Astros, motherfuckers.
Should we talk about the Jets? They're back, baby. The Jets are back.
Good, yeah. It's way more fun than watching bloody Liverpool right now.
That's your own.
Can I just quickly evidence my my against what Rhodesy said about Ali and being bottom of the league? That we give up the second highest xG per shot, non-shot xG per shot in the league, but we concede the second lowest xG on target. So Ali saves the second most xG on target in the league, and we're giving up the second most xG. So it without him, we would comfortably be conceding 7-8 more goals this season, and we're only 8 points off bottom.
Yeah, we're 8 points off third out there as well.
But that's not the point.
Yeah.
Without Ali, he's not stopping us getting third, is he?
Yeah. You're right.
I think it's fair to say we deserve to concede more goals. Deserve to have conceded more goals this season.
Yeah,
I do
100%.
deserve to have scored more though. That's all.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think the quality of our chances hasn't been good enough.
I don't think we deserve to score more. I think we've got an appropriate amount of luck in front of goal. I think our process is shit.
Yeah. Right. So let's talk about these two specific games then. Right. So let's run through these quickly because I'm going to put it to you, Barts, that we conceded 10 big chances to West Ham and Forest without them having to do anything particularly good.
Yep.
It wasn't, not once in those 10 did they opposition say, oh, you have to take your hat off to them there. They were absolutely brilliant with some brilliant play. It was largely self-inflicted, largely bad defending and basics, right?
It's individual errors. Errors. We said this time and time again. I mean, the Forest goal is, if they've planned to hit that ball really long, that set piece long and cut it back, then fair play. They've executed a set play really well. But our defending from the point it goes beyond the back post is poor.
Yeah.
Yeah, we shouldn't allow a ball to get drilled across the 6-yard box. Just shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
And there's countless errors in that game. Joe getting pushed off the ball, which I know Rhodey's now highlighted as probably a fan in there on him. There was several other instances where people lost balls in the flight. Trent, Joe, in both games. You know, and
so let's go chronologically. So for this one, so they started off with the incident for the Bowen pen against West Ham. Needless challenge.
Yeah, Joe, the guy's going. I mean, the classic saying "going nowhere," but Joe's got him under control. Just stand, jock him down to the line, and defend the attempted cross. It goes for a corner, we clear it.
Yeah.
Done.
So it was an aggressive play, and just needless. So just a bit of a miscalculation, wasn't it?
Yeah, needless. I think he's trying to nick it. I don't know why he's trying to nick it there, but he is, and gives it away. Not gives it away, fouls him. It's penalty, clear penalty.
Yeah. Next one was the header just before half time from Timo Kehrer from a set play. Now, I wasn't sure about this one did they get the cross in between zones, or was Kehrer not blocked off well enough by one of our blockers on there? Did anybody get a look at this one?
I don't think the blocking was very good.
Yeah, I think it was a bit of both, Dan. I think it's a bit
of both.
Yeah, decent delivery, poor marking, poor blocking.
Yeah.
I mean, the thing is, we don't mark, do we? But it's still, the blocking's not great, so therefore then the defensive header wasn't great.
I thought he got in between the front guy and then the mid-zone guy, didn't he?
For sure.
Yeah.
But it's just not... I mean, the delivery's good, right? He's put it in between his own, but we still should have done better.
Yeah. But he steers it wide. Then the Ben Rama chance, this was a bad one. Now, apologies to any people who might be under the age of 30 on this podcast, but when I was younger, there was a very popular children's TV double act called the Chuckle Brothers, and they used to have a catchphrase, to me, to you, to me, to you, to me, to you, I used to all the time. And the reason I'm talking about the Chuckle Brothers, Barts, is because the Ben Rama chance reminded me the Chuckle Brothers, Joe Gomez, Trent Alexander-Arnold, to me, to you, with a high ball. And no one took responsibility.
I know. I mean, they're both not great aerially, right? You know, Joe's 3 and 5. Trent's actually got some all right recently, but he doesn't generally contest, if you know what I mean. So it doesn't show up in the stats. But it's still, as you say, take responsibility. The ball's coming in a new area. If that's the other side, I'm VVD like mine or whatever the call is, clears. It's that side. It's dropping, and Joe's like, right, yeah, doesn't deal with it. And then Trent's like, why, Joe? Why are you dealing with it? And it's late, and it drops, and they get a chance. It should never ever drop like that. Just deal with it. Just deal with the ball.
Yeah, and so Ali saves that one from Ben Rama.
Yeah.
Rosie, the Skamaka one, that's really unlucky. That's not a big chance because it was reaching.
Boys, can I just jump in?
Yeah.
Sorry, dude. Just in defence of the boys, it was really fucking windy.
Yeah.
And not only that, I was pointing out last week when we played there that it has this weird swirling wind that comes off the river. And it was really, really windy. And if you look back at the wide angle, you can see that Trent was originally going to head the ball, and the ball just swerved miles away. And then Gomez started to get engaged because it was just moving so much. And it happened a lot during the game. Klopp referenced it, and I appreciate that Klopp whines a lot about environment, but it was very, very windy.
You talking about Forest Ground or the home Anfield?
West Ham game, yeah.
We're talking about West Ham game.
Yeah.
Then I'll be quiet, and it was just Gomez and sorry.
I think it was windy. Paul was there, and it was, but not as bad as the Forest.
All I can say was it couldn't have been that windy because Ben Rama got it down on the volley first time for a shot.
He did.
It couldn't have been that fucking windy.
You missed another big chance, Dan. I think we need to talk about the Souček one because
no, just the Skamaka header was before that one.
I thought it was after. I thought
was it?
Right.
I was just in Skamaka one because that wasn't really one because he never got in position to get on top of that. It was too high for him, right?
No, it's the one where Ben Rama fleeces Trent, and Fabinho and Henderson fail to stop Bowen getting the ball in the 6-yard box. He cuts it back. Souček on the 6-yard.
Sorry, I was talking about the Skamaka head. Let's talk about the Souček chance then.
Well, yeah, he shoots and it just flicks off Milner and goes for the corner. But then Skamaka gets the header for the next big chance.
Yeah.
So I know we'd conceded from a set piece in the Forest game, but we conceded 2 big chances from set pieces.
Do you think the Skamaka one was legit though?
I'm not sure it's a big chance. No. He's high, yeah, but he is tall.
Yeah.
Yeah, but still, you know.
But the Souček one was just an abomination of a chance to concede, though, wasn't it? It was schoolboy.
So many. It kind of dribbles past Trent and then just like knocks him off like he is a schoolboy. But then Bowen just gets time in our 6-yard box with Fabinho and Henderson around him.
And Gomez. Still standing.
Just to make an easy cutback for Souček, who's there waiting on the edge of the 6-yard box just to tap it in. And he does get a shot on it, but I think it's quite fortunate that Milner gets the blocking. Or it just off him. I don't think he knows what he's doing.
Do you see Fab fall over as well?
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not picking on the guy, but he seems to fall over a bit. I said, why have you fallen over there? I don't know, it's just random.
Yeah. I've counted in 8 individual errors leading to big chances in this game.
Yeah. How many were Joe Gomez, Rhodesy?
4.
Yeah. How can you go, right? This is one of the things I want to talk about. Let's do it now. Let's do Joe now. How can you go from being so good against Man City to so poor against West Ham and Nottingham Forest?
Si, have you got any explanation? Because I haven't.
Is it just inexperience? Is he just not consistent?
I have no idea. I don't know if it was fatigue mentally because it was such an effort against Man City. I don't know if it's concentration levels. He didn't look anywhere near as physically imposing. He was misjudging balls, misjudging runners, making bad decisions.
Yeah.
It's just the explanation for why I haven't. Honestly, I don't.
Barts, any observations on Joe?
I would know more, but I'm not. That injury he had was really bad.
Yeah,
and to play consistently at top level, time and time again.
Yeah,
to come back from that type of injury, I think it's tough.
Yeah.
I don't think it's necessarily physically able to do that.
Yeah.
But he's got to play because we haven't got any centre halves.
Yeah.
He's got the physical attribute still, though. Still seems to.
No, but he doesn't. I'm telling you, it's about how your body feels. It's about, I know this is a metrics show, but some of it is about when you get old, you get that many injuries. It's about, right, I've got that knock, I'll carry it. And he is still, it's two years to go over that. He's there. He might look it, but he's not the same player. And he knows that. And he can't do it time after time after time after again. He just can't do it. I don't think, anyway. I mean, Simon might have a different view and it blow me out of the water, but I just think that knee, that's severe. I don't think he can get back to being consistently.
Thoughts on Joe?
Game after game.
Yeah, I thought to blow smoke up our own asses, when we did the original Joe Gomez pod, and Marty and I, we talked about the whole pathology of it all and then the projection of when he could potentially come back from this injury.
Yeah.
And we said best case scenario was this season, maybe middle of this season before you get to see anything like Joe Gomez.
Right.
And it's also still very, very unlikely you ever get to see peak powerful Joe Gomez ever again.
Yeah. But you could argue we saw that against Man City, right?
I don't think so. I think it was a much. I think you saw a more focused one, but right. I don't think you saw the physical explosiveness because for the same reason you got to see the brilliance of Virgil for one game only. I'm not here to slaughter Joe Gomez when Virgil's next to him and he's barely any better. And Virgil cost us this game. Joe Gomez didn't. And there were much smaller spaces against City. We were much more compact. We couldn't care less about attacking against City. Yeah. And we're set up to be a bottom half team, counter, like two blocks of four and counter. And you can't do that against the rubbish teams, which is why we look less, less cohesive against the other two teams. But this 4-4-2 nonsense, this is setting up to be a passive, reactive team, and against City, that enabled our back four to look like a good quality West Brom back four players, because what they had to do was defend. Yeah. And in this game, they had 132 touches each, basically, and there was much more emphasis on what they could do with the ball, which wasn't very much. And the defending was much more intermittent, which makes it much more likely to make mistakes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was referencing the Forest game there. We're on the ball that much. Yeah. So let's just quickly finish off the litany of the big chances going through the Forest game. But then, so Awoniyi gets two of them from the same phase in that set play. You say the issue here was, the concession of the original free kick, that was, it was on a counter. It was did he take the yellow card, doesn't he, for the team, that one? Yeah.
He does.
When it's borderline red.
I mean, we talked to other games where just do it. You know what I mean? Just take the yellow card.
He takes that.
It does it.
And then their centre back is over in the right wing channel, and he gets the loose ball, and then he just decides to leather it as hard as he can into the box, doesn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying. I think this is a set play they've worked on.
They've get it in the mixer and then see what happens.
Well, they put it straight over. But the thing is, they completely bypassed our back four. I set up, gone straight over there, and then they just pinged it across really, really hard and see what happens. And we should be better than, as I referenced there, a West Brom back four. We should be better than that.
Yeah. All right. Then there was Gibbs White. Not long after that, in fact, just after that. Now that was our good old friend, negative transition, wasn't it? But
yeah. Just
right down the middle.
Right down the middle, with not exactly what we say all the time. If you can't tackle him, whatever, just clear it, take him out. It's just delay the opposition, so you allow your team to recover behind and gain shape. Right, we didn't do that. Just went straight down.
And then Milner, the hero this time. He tried what he did against Napoli when he gave away the pen, but this time he actually gets the blocking on Gibbs White.
He does. Can we just run that one back? Because I thought there was a little bit of an incident in this. This is a corner. It starts with our corner. Yeah. Van Dijk's just on the edge of the 6-yard box. Instead of attacking it and getting a header on goal, he turns his head and tries to knock it down for Carvalho. And then they attack. But Gomez kind of makes a challenge with Awoniyi on the right-hand side. And then the ball deflects. And then Gomez just turns around and start sprinting when the ball came into an area.
Yeah.
And he just turned his back on it, and I wondered, thought, all right, I'll just pick that up.
It was about 3 seconds, wasn't it? He was running with his back to play.
And then there's no marking of, because we're on the kind of negative transition, Gibbs White just gets it space, and it's a good ball across, and Milner deflects it over. But I didn't know what Gomez was doing.
But this is what I was saying about the intermittent nature of defending.
Yeah.
You know, City was small spaces in these two games. We almost went back to defending big spaces, which is different, right? It's a very different game, and it takes a lot out of you, particularly when things aren't going in the Forest game. Particularly, Joe's trying to play the ball in as he is trying to get things going with a good vertical pass. It wasn't sticking. Do you know what I mean? They're blocking it off, so it's coming back. So I'm not defending Joe's. He's made an error there, but I'm just saying it feeds into what I was saying about this intermittent nature, stop-start. It's not a controlled way of defending.
Yeah. Then there was Brennan Johnson, 69 minutes, another negative transition moment. Big chance, big save from Ali.
Big save from Ali, and that's exactly what we've been talking about, isn't it? He saved a great chance there. Was that a big chance?
Yeah. Well, how did you see this one being built up, Barts? The Johnson one.
Was this from a set place? I'm sorry, Rhodesy, go on.
No.
Yeah, no, this was Kouyaté. Again, we're caught on the break. Kouyaté has the ball. He's being trapped by Jones. He passes it to Gibbs White, and Gomez doesn't even make an attempt to block the next pass. Trent's then outpaced by Kouyaté on the left, and the return pass. Very worrying. And in the meantime, Johnson is about 5-10 yards behind Van Dijk and gets ahead of him.
Yeah,
the cross, and then the big chance is brilliantly saved.
Yeah,
but you also look at
jogging.
You also look at the midfield, wasn't it? There was no one going the runners, was there? Again, no. I don't think so. You got the same.
Jones, who was tracking Kouyaté, and he stopped, and I think he kind of passed Kouyaté on to Trent.
Yeah.
So maybe he could have then moved into the middle, but Johnson was 10 yards behind Van Dijk and managed to get in front of him.
Yeah. And then the last one was Yates. 86 minutes. I thought this was almost as bad as the Souček one. Rhodesy, this is a bit of a omni-shambles, right?
Fabinho loses it in the middle, yeah?
Yeah.
Passes it to Gibbs White, and he just plays a through ball between two of our defenders, Henderson and Gomez, and then Henderson, but Henderson's just virtually stood still. Fabinho manages to get back with it running, but Yates just pulls away from him. And again, it's a brilliant save, but the inability to close down Gibbs White after losing the ball in the middle of the pitch, I think Henderson's got to be the one going to him, and then Gomez covers him behind, but both of them are kind of not aware of what the other one's going to do, and they both just stand there and let Gibbs White just play it straight through them both. It's just
but that right defensive half space for us at the moment, Barts, is like the Bermuda Triangle, isn't it? Between the right back, the right centre back, and the defensive midfield, and God Almighty, so much stuff is coming through there.
It's crazy how much, I sometimes do density plots, and the amount of shots and areas and passes that are coming from that half space is ridiculous. And we've changed systems now to make it shut that down. Do you know what I mean? It's like there should be one of our sixes stood there, right, and our right back not going as far forward, just doing the job.
There. It was literally
it's like, do something. I just couldn't. Yeah, there's a systematic error going on in our right half space that people are exploiting. Let's be frank about it. They've done the stats,
absolutely,
and actually to change the system hasn't stopped them exploiting the same area.
Right. Let's talk about solutions. Right now, but one thing I did ask you to do was I asked you to take a quick look at Newcastle. Because Newcastle are managed by Eddie Howe. Now, Eddie Howe is a manager we have not been particularly nice to on this show over the years, being his incredibly naive approach to managing football games.
Yeah.
And somehow Newcastle have got the best defensive record in the Premier League. It's not statistically the best record, but it's pretty solid. So in terms of all the underlying statistics, but in terms of goals conceded, it's the best record in the league. They're just a shade under 1.1 expected goals conceded per game in StatsBomb. Only 10 goals conceded all season, and then they've got 20 big chances conceded, which isn't bad. But they are doing this with Eddie Howe as manager, and they are doing it with the likes of Joe Willock in midfield, the Longstaff brothers, Joel Linton, who was a laughingstock of the previous manager. They've got Big Dan Byrne at left back. They got Nick. And they just the best. What I can say is they got one outstanding midfielder, and they bought some really solid Premier League players. So they got Nick Pope, solid goalkeeper, Fabian Schär, good solid centre back, and also with Sven Botman as well, haven't they? So they got some good. So right? Kieran Trippier, an elite right back now in his sort of dotage years, but he's still very good. So, question to you, Bart, is right: if Eddie Howe, right, much maligned Eddie Howe, can get a defensive tune out of essentially a solid set of players with some misfits from previous regimes, what is he doing, right? And just as an example, almost like as a case study.
Yeah, so you asked me to look at it. I just pulled up the Y Scout for the last 10 of last season and the first 10 of this season. And I also did some analysis of the whole of last season and the first 10 this season. And from a top level stuff, you get some bits and bobs. They now have a set way of pattern of play and identity, 4-3-3. They've played that 87% of the time. Their big thing from defensive point of view, their difference, their XG difference for the last 10 of last season was minus 0.35. For this 10 of this season, they are 8.94 XG difference. So over those games, they have the PPDA, which is a measure of, or can be a measure of pressing, has decreased. So they have a more intense press. Okay. So that's gone from being on average 11 passes per defensive action to 8. So that's quite a significant change for them. Even though, remember, we commented they weren't very pressing oriented when we played them, but the stats show that they have increased their defensive actions per pass. Okay. Yeah. Then Y Scout does use
almost like playing short bursts.
Yeah, short bursts, and they're in a contained area. And I'll come on to that now because Y Scout breaks it down in terms of areas. So you look at the defensive third. What are they doing differently in the defensive third compared to last 10 and this 10 they're currently? So if you look at the maps around, they are winning more defensive duels in their own third, and particularly one-on-one duels, and particularly in the box and around zone 14. Okay, so that's stopping direct shots in the width of the goals for old school money. So they're stopping those. Where are they losing the duels? They're losing them out wide. They're not losing them in the centre in their own third anymore. Okay, whereas the last 10, they were losing them heavily on one side before Trippier was injured back in the last season, and also heavily in the corners of the box, if you know what I mean. Not doing that anymore now. They've lost 2 duels in their own 18-yard box in the first 10, last 10 games. Aerially, you'd expect they've improved that. Yeah. Okay, they were losing a lot around the penalty spot, not anymore. Okay, so what are they? So that's just a recap. So the one-on-one duels.
So they bought Burn, they bought Botman, so they fixed that on the problem on the aerial side.
Aerial drives. So they've sorted that out. Okay, well, not sorted it, but they've improved it. Yeah, they're not losing as many duels, one-on-one duels in their home third, and particularly what they're winning the duels is in and around zone 14 and a half spaces. So they're getting a block on a shield in front of Pope. And then
these are journeymen midfielders like Joe Willock and Sean Longstaff and Darryl
and elite. And Bruno as a shield as a 6. That's what they're doing. Okay, and if you look at the recovery zones, so where are they recovering the ball more? There's not a lot of difference in midfield, I have to say. Okay, in actual fact, they're recovering the ball less in midfield. But to back up what I've just said, in the defensive third, they've increased their central ball recoveries by nearly 4%. Yeah, which means they're now like more than league average, approaching more than league average, whereas they were around league average. Possession losses, they're just not losing the ball in the defensive third as much as they were. Midfield, again, they're not losing it as much. Forwards wise, that has increased, but I think that's Eddie Howe saying, go on to your attackers, go and take a chance up front. We've got it into final third, go and do it. But in all other 6 zones, so Y Scout divided by 9. So you've got midfield and 3 in midfield, 3 in defence. They've reduced the amount of ball possession losses. Okay. Fouls committed. They've increased the amount of fouls they give away in the left back zone, decreased it in the other defensive areas. And midfield, they've decreased the amount of fouls committed. So they're reducing the chance for the opposition to put a ball in the box. So they're recovering the ball better centrally, okay? And the same midfield and up top slightly more, which might be a link with the PPDA. They're losing the ball less in the defensive and middle thirds, and they're giving it away more up front, and they're committing less fouls generally speaking, 5 out of 6 zones defensively. Okay. Then I looked at the stats going forward and tried to give a bit of an overview of comparing the whole of last season with these games just gone. And the percentage of shots conceded on target. Okay, so that's the number of shots they concede. That so if they exceed 20 shots and 10 on target, that's 50%, right? So what does that range look like? So typically the mean last season was around 35% of all their shots they conceded were on target, but their range went up to nearly above 60. So there were some games, and there's quite a large block that had over between 50 and 60% of their shots they were conceding were on target. Okay. This season, the range is the other way. So the mean's about the same, but if you look at the box plot, the bottom end goes all the way down to 10 as a range. So they've reduced the percentage of shots they concede that are on target. Okay. XG difference, as we've already said, they've flipped that round. So rather than it being a range down to nearly -2 with a mean at 0, they've now got a mean just approaching 2 and a range that goes up to 4. Aerial win rate, again, we've already covered that. They've improved that. They've flipped the range around again for that. PPDA, you know, I said about having controlled measures and having a plan to be in defensive and making your opposition play predictable. Their PPD range last season went from 5 to 35. Okay. Their PPDA range this season is 5 to 15 with a mean of below 10. So they have a more controlled way of aiming to get the ball back in areas they want to do. And XGA, as you would expect, has decreased. Their range is now just over 2, whereas last season it was just about 4. So, yeah, that's to mind. I think they're working harder to give away less fouls. They're working harder to block, to reduce the chance of a shot being taken centrally, particularly in and around half pace in zone 14. And that is shown in the PPDA. And then they're playing more direct to the final third.
And do you see any similarity with Eddie Howe's Bournemouth?
No.
So he's completely reinvented himself.
I think he's reinvented himself. I think there's some attacking elements. I think there's some, but in terms of defensively, I don't remember Bournemouth being this disorganised defensively.
Everything you've just said there is kind of diametrically opposed to what we're doing.
Yeah. No, and that's a sad fact, right?
More shots centrally, losing the ball more often in his own defensive third.
Losing duels, losing one-on-ones.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, look at where we're losing it.
Dribble pass, and you've got the dribble pass stats.
Yeah. Good zone 14 and the half space. You just said it. That's where we're losing it. You know.
Yeah.
They're not. Newcastle are not doing that.
Yeah, I looked at dribble pass stats on FBref this year, and we have got and when you take all players in the league per 90, we have got 5 regular players over 1.5 dribble pass per 90. So James Milner's top, just over 2. Then Harvey, just at 1.9. Joel Matip, 1.8. Fab, 1.6. And Costas 1.5. We've got a total of 11 players 13 players in the top 130 most dribble pass players in the league. So we've got 10% of the top 130 players dribble pass in the Premier League this season. Man City have got 3 players in the top 130 for the dribble pass, and Arsenal have got 5.
And do you know what's most concerning about that? That the top 5 that you said we've got, you've got Milner, who's been playing in defence. You've got Fabinho, who's playing as a holder. You've got Matip, who's a centre half, and Tsimikas as a left back. It's key areas where you're getting dribble pass. If 3 of those players get dribble passed,
Arsenal's are all Arsenal's are like Odegaard, Jesus. I suppose Partey and Xhaka were there, but Partey and Xhaka are really low. They're right on the low threshold, which I used was 0.6 per 90, which was the cut-off point I used for the entire for the whole league. So Partey and Xhaka at the cut-off point, and it's only Rodri's at 0.9 for Man City. Bernardo's there top with 1.1, and Odegaard's top for Arsenal. But crazy.
Where was Hendo?
Hendo's just under 1.95, same as Thiago.
Yeah, we've got 7 players worse than Man City's worst player.
Yeah.
And they're all right, like you said, Rhodesy, that you've got both fullbacks and a large proportion of our holders. Yeah,
so and you've got Trent there. Trent's just under 1.
Right. So a shoehorn around the defence, yeah? That shoehorn, that little...
Even Robbo's on the list and Joe Gomez is on the list.
Yeah.
So it's just crazy. The system... They're exposing the play. They're losing the duels and they're being exposed to with the space as well. It's just anyway. So right, solutions for Liverpool Si, start to bring you back in now because we've rejigged the agenda. Solutions for Liverpool. I mean, the 4-4-2 was meant to be a solution. It's blatantly not, right?
It's not working, is it?
No. It was meant to be a solution to the off the ball on the defensive side, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
it was supposed to reduce the number of big chances we were giving away in the middle of the goal. Ostensibly, that was the outcome we wanted.
Yeah, which is failed miserably. Now you could argue if we actually defended better as individuals, you might be able to make the 4-4-2 work better, right? In fact, you almost certainly would.
But the whole point of the 4-4-2 was to reduce individual responsibility.
Yes.
We were the best in the world at making individual, the 4-3-3. The way we set up was to empower each individual to make 37 decisions appropriately. And the way we've condensed the game is to make them make 3 choices now, and some of them still can't make those.
Yeah.
Are you that person who has everything, the coolest merch, and those must-have fan threads? Well, over at our Anfield Index shop, we've gone that extra mile when it comes to pimping up your Liverpool collection. From our popular range of bespoke design t-shirts, sweaters, hoodies and hats, to our signature edition mugs, prints and coasters, all provided with fast worldwide shipping. We have something for every red. We also stock official LFC merchandise and are licensed with the Premier League and UEFA to sell official iron-on shirt badges and sleeve patches. As a listener to this podcast, you can get 10% off everything with coupon code AIPRO10. Just head over to AnfieldIndex.shop or find us on Etsy by searching for Anfield Index.
For whatever reason. I honestly, at this point, I'm not sure what the tactical switch is next to fix this thing. I think we will play like a mid-table team that might have good results against big teams.
Yeah.
And we might score some set pieces that will put us, that we might end up battering bad teams if we get a couple of set piece goals, and then we kind of go back to default, like the unconscious way of playing that has been established over the last 7 years, and then we'll skin the opposition. Can I just contextualize this? One of the things this season that has happened that I haven't seen it talked about anywhere, but I appreciate that we have pressing that nobody else does.
Yeah.
Right. But if we just look at what FBref and how they categorize their pressing against their own numbers year on year, the average, so basically 29% of all passers are under pressure in the Premier League over the last 5 years.
Right.
Yeah. This year it's 23.5.
Across the league?
Yeah.
Wow.
League-wide, it's dropped off a cliff.
Wow.
It's 20% down.
That is interesting.
Yeah. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
League-wide, like without being able to go down into granular numbers, like running is down across the league.
Yeah.
But high intensity is only down a little bit, but general running is down across the league, but definitely pressing is down, right? So, but here's the thing for us, that up until who was the game before Brighton?
Everton.
Yeah, up until Everton, we were 26% of our passes were still being pressed, right? And since Everton, 21% of our passes are being pressed. Teams are just backing off, letting our defenders have the ball, letting our midfielders have the ball, and go and try to beat us.
Yeah.
And at the same time, our dribbling numbers have dropped off a cliff.
Yeah.
So that we're not progressing the ball like through our passing because they're just blocking off the space that we want to get into, and none of our players are dribbling.
Yeah.
Which creates the space. So we've created this huge new problem for ourselves.
Yeah. So you're not sure on the tactical side there, Si, and where we can go next. Personnel. I mean, obviously, I think Ibrahim Konate will improve things, right?
I hear that.
We can't rely on him, right? Can we? Because he's.
But also, why will he improve things? What is it that he does that the others don't do that is so genius?
Okay, true.
Like, I'm not trying to undermine him. I'm talking from an impact on the whole team. What difference? Like Joe Gomez was brilliant in one game. Virgil's been brilliant in one game. Yeah. Matip was actually probably the better. Has had consistently the better games this season.
Yeah.
Like when Matip plays, we tend to be better as a team.
Yeah. But I don't know when
I'm not saying like Matip over Konate. I'm just saying that
is Matip back relatively soon?
But Matip's back in training next week, I think.
Right.
Like is he the difference? Is it?
No, I'm just going to say. I know I'm not going to say he's the difference. I'm just going to say I think he would improve because I think he's a good one-on-one defender. I was going to say.
He is, but the thing is that we've changed so that we're not reliant on one-on-one defending. That's the thing that we've done. That was our massive superpower. That was that we could go forward and leave our defense one-on-one, like 3-on-3, and we would win. And now we're not.
But if we're saying that our right half
system to stop that from even happening.
But if we're saying that we also said that our right defensive half space is like the Bermuda Triangle right now. I think he could, in theory, he could improve that. I think he could make us less vulnerable in that right half space.
Potentially, but I think we've tactically changed so that not just to negate that, but to block off loads of spaces, and we've taken away our other super weapon, which is the Egyptian fella up front, and we have, like, I don't know if even his brilliance one-on-one will even be used because he won't be one-on-one, because that's not how we're playing now. We're playing with a much more compact, theoretically, a much more compact midfield. So he won't even be left one-on-one. So I'm not even sure we'll be playing to his strengths, if that makes sense.
Mm.
Like if he came back in and we started to play how we typically did last season and for the previous 6 years, like, of course, because that's what he was bought for. He was bought to be the other guy with Virgil and leave those two alone, and they can counteract anything. But we've totally gone away from that now.
Well, the mad thing was that you said that the Forest game's crying out for 4-3-3, absolutely begging for it.
And literally, I'm in a group with a bunch of Premier League coaches that get paid a lot of money to do this thing, and they were pulling not one Liverpool fan, but they have an awful lot of respect for Liverpool, begrudging in some of their cases, and they were like absolutely baffled by our tactical setup against them. What Forest does is not sophisticated and it's not a secret, and they're like, you're not using two zones of the pitch.
Yeah.
Like they put 9 men in a box, and we just tried to play through the box.
Yeah.
It was absolutely bizarre. If you're going to go 4-4-2, you've got to then double bank either side and go use the wide zones of the pitch. And we actually played a 4-4-2 we basically played 4-2-2-2. And the two wide players took right in, made a box, and actually 4-2-2-1-1, and just never bothered to give it to Salah at all. It was just, I don't understand what we're doing, how we ended up getting through a whole game without Klopp putting somebody on a touchline and going, do not move out of this zone.
Yeah.
We played straight into their strengths, didn't we, sorry?
Yeah.
Everything that they do, we played it straight into it.
We are so dumb, and it blows my mind. I find it's incredibly frustrating to watch. We keep repeating the thing that the opposition want us to do, and there's no problem solving going on the pitch or off the pitch.
But there's a possible solution, isn't it? Better in-game management, better
choices, better problem solving.
Then how do you do that, Darth? Because you can't change the personnel.
No, I mean he could have easily put Salah to the right wing, couldn't he? And Carvalho left wing, right?
Yeah.
And Bobby centre forward in a false 9.
But you've still got to rely on your midfielders to get the ball.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
But we had 82% possession?
Yeah, but it was just, as I said, they condensed the middle areas,
They let us. We couldn't get the ball through. We kept the ball. We kept moving left and right, left and right.
But we could have moved it. We could have used. I think what Sai's saying.
We moved it quicker.
We could have used we could have widened the pitch and used the width of the pitch more. Done a lot more than we did.
But it doesn't matter if you don't move the ball quick enough. If you still insist on going through, you move the two and out the other side, it means I'll shuffle across.
So do you think that if we'd have gone, say, for example, 4-3-3 with Salah on the right, do you think we would have been able to get the ball to them in this game?
I think we're better at it. I think just unconsciously we're better at that structure because we've played it for so long. So we're not only trying to outthink the opposition, but we're constantly outthinking ourselves. And by outthinking ourselves, we're also setting up. I think we seem to have gone right. This is our new way of playing. I don't care if it doesn't suit the opposition. In the long term, we need to rehearse this thing, and we're going to be good enough against this opposition for now.
Yeah.
And it makes very, very, very little sense to me. You have to switch possession if you're going to play against a deep box like that. And it just wasn't remotely enough. Like, we talked about a lack of switching last week, and then the previous week beyond that, and then we had 9 switches fewer this week than last week, and we had 230 passes more. So, like, the percentage of our passes out wide is like, you can't pass out wide if nobody stood there to receive the pass.
Yeah. So we need more width, more switches.
More switches, and when people talk about increase the tempo, the biggest thing you can do if you watch any of the great sides, if you watch City now, I remember as a kid,
we play with tempo.
The Italian TV, the Italian Spanish. What was it called? What was the footy show called?
Italian Night.
Gazzetta Football Italia.
Gazzetta Football Italia. They used to talk about Real Madrid, AC Milan up in the tempo and controlling the tempo of games, and they'll go slow, fast. And they don't run faster. They just have fewer touches in possession. So they'll go from 2, 3, 4, 5 touches every time the player receives the ball. He'll change the angle of the ball. He'll move his body around. He'll reorientate himself against the defender, whatever. And then the fast tempo is there'll be 4 single touch possessions, and they'll be through. And if you just watch, we were so ponderous and Henderson was just coming deep, picking the ball up, having 3 touches, and then laying the ball off 3 feet. And I'm not picking on that. I shouldn't have said Henderson.
Well, Elliot was doing it.
But they were all doing it.
They were doing it.
Van Dijk was doing it.
They were all doing it.
Sterile.
Yeah. It's
and that's what we miss with Thiago. That's how he sets the tempo. He'll reverse the ball, like with one touch, and it will go in the opposite direction of the defense shifting. The defense is shifting this way, and he goes, right, this is the thing we've been trying to do with this possession. And with one touch, he'll be looking far side, and he'll just reverse the ball at some absurd angle, and it will go into Robbo, the opposite direction, and it makes all of the defense like reorientate and change feet, change position, and start to move the other way. And if you can do that, you create gaps. And like, we were just not even attempting to do any of this stuff. It was so rudimentary.
Well, at our peaks, you are absolutely spot on. It used to be 3 or 4 one-touch possessions to break teams down.
Yeah. And so if you look at the 7 ways we create, we score from that Phillips season where we were shitty and terrible. What have we got going right now? Our biggest way of scoring is gone. Is just literally been taken off the table. We don't press anymore. By design, we don't press. It's a choice. So our biggest way of scoring goals has been taken away.
Yeah. The only way we were scoring on the weekend was set plays. And we didn't even
set plays. So you've got number 4 of the 7 and nothing else.
We are a set play team. We are Sam Allardyce.
Yeah.
And but we aren't that bad. Our players aren't that bad. It doesn't make sense that we've reduced ourselves to this.
We were crossing the ball a bit at the weekend at Forest as well, right? But we didn't have Darwin on the pitch.
No.
It's like hindsight's a wonderful thing, but I wonder whether Darwin playing this one and not a midweek would have been better. But
yeah,
that's scoreboard.
So Bart, have you got any solutions to Liverpool? Obviously, we've got better choices from say individual defending, winning duels 1-on-1. What any other potential ways out of this for?
You said stretching the pitch, one touch.
Stretching the pitch, one touch, quicken your play out. As we said, we've got to find a way of doing that without Thiago in the side. Like as I said, Thiago is that key maker. He will always do that. So others need to do that and need to be less. We need to be less ponderous. Whatever system you want to play, we have to go back to our principles, and that is that we're at that quick tempo. We want it. We control. Cut out the individual errors. I don't know how many times you can say that. We've got to do that. We've got to start doing that. Whether that's through managing players, I don't know. So they're better concentrated. And that just, unfortunately, we've got, 8 players out? 8 first-team players out?
Yeah. Well, let's do the injuries now, size back. We were going to do injuries first. Right. Let's do injuries /fatigue /condition of the squad. So, Si, it's not a good place with injuries right now. It is, in fact, we've been behind the 8 ball all season, haven't we, with injuries, and we've never got out of there really.
It's less than ideal for sure, but if we just underline what Bart's was saying and what I was saying before, that all of those things you're saying are counter to what we do now to get us out of this. So moving the ball faster, better switches, like making better choices, reducing individual errors. The commonality between all of those things is confidence.
Yeah. But we just beat City. You think we'd have it?
But they know why we beat City. So I bang on about this all the time in coaching and with coaching kids. It's not about telling somebody they did well.
Right.
It's all about context. They know they did City because of this, they became a bottom half team.
But they also ran 119k.
Quality.
You said we ran 119k, which is old school, right?
It's old school, but it's also how Burnley would do it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's not the Liverpool way. That's one part of the Liverpool way, but they didn't impose themselves by pressing, which is the Liverpool way.
No.
Not high pressing. It was a medium block.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. They did what a mid-table.
But we were
anyway,
intense, though, right?
So its confidence is such a big deal.
Yeah,
and I don't know how you win that back.
No.
We currently have from an injury perspective, we are running at 8.3 injuries per game. Which is we had 6.77 for the terrible season where we set the record.
Jesus.
So we have more injuries. We've at a level beyond that. At no time have we under Klopp ever had 2 players leave the pitch in the first half injured, and we've had that this season. We've had 5 different occasions where players have had to be subbed off because they've got injuries which make them miss consecutive games following that. Like this is like an amplified version of what we went through before, but we had a big player missing in Virgil, so everyone knew about it, and then a couple more of the same position on the pitch, so it felt like more. But we've got a lot of injuries in this squad right now.
Yeah,
and
if you ranked all our players in terms of quality, from top to bottom, a lot of injured players, nearly all the injured players are above halfway in that list, aren't they?
Yeah,
that's a problem.
And people need to remember. So this is not us excusing Liverpool. These are just facts. These are context of the season.
Yeah, we
have the most injuries ever in game week 13 that's ever happened in the Premier League.
Yeah,
and we're in the most condensed period. We're in the most condensed 6 weeks of Premier League history.
Yeah.
And then obviously without the ability to rotate because you haven't got enough players, the fatigue then builds. So
Yeah. They're all injured, so you have to reduce the amount of running they do in a game. You had the most intense game last week against to beat City, and then they had to play again 2.5 days later.
Yeah,
and then they had to play again 2.5 days.
So
later.
it was five changes for West Ham with another 5 for Forest. Obviously, Diogo got injured against City, and then Darwin. Was it a precaution or an actual injury? Do we know?
Right. If he can't play because it hurts and it will ruin his season, it's still a missed game for injury.
Muscle.
Yeah. Hamstring. Yeah.
Hamstring. Right. Okay. And
that worries me tremendously. Stuff I've heard today really greatly worries me for the season.
Go on then. Can you divulge any of this?
With the stuff I sent you that none of you reacted to earlier.
Yeah, I don't know how to interpret
I just wanted to wait for you to talk about it if you can on the pod. If not,
I don't know how to interpret it, Si.
Yeah.
Well, without naming names, the let's say the strength and conditioning department, like somebody mentioned today, that Liverpool need a new doctor, a new head doctor, because that's why they've got injuries. It's nothing to do with the doctor.
It was Ian Doyle, wasn't it?
Yeah, nothing to do with the doctor. The doctor plays no role in training at all. He might, they're not even generally full time. They're there to treat people that are ill or that have a significant injury. So they don't play roles day to day. The people that do are the sports scientists, the physios, and the strength and conditioning coaches. Liverpool don't have a structured strength and conditioning policy. They don't even believe in their players lifting weights together. So that's why you have Mo, who is jacked. That's why it seems that you have Arthur going off and getting his own strength coaches, because we don't do it systematically.
Nunes
Is this an anomaly amongst top professional
in the modern football? This is absolutely an anomaly. How I would sell strength and conditioning is my job is to make you as strong as you can possibly be to fulfill the physiological demands of your game, of whatever sport it is you're going to play, and to make you strong enough so you're available for the most technical training that you can be, because that's going to make you a better footballer or a better tennis player or a better swimmer, whatever. And we don't have a program that underpins the physical elements of our game.
So
and it blows my mind.
For context insight, have we had that before?
When Klopp came in, we fully had it. And then it's come and gone, it seems.
That's why he's slowly reduced it to the point where we haven't got any.
Yeah, the people that are in power now don't believe in it. It's a different philosophy.
So what is our focus then if it's not strength and conditioning? Is it cardio?
It's fitness. So it's football fitness. We've become a Mourinho-driven team.
So running, basically.
Yeah.
Ball
From a layman's terms, it will be more running stuff. Yeah, it'll be lighter players that run that have a low metabolic cost to them, moving them around the pitch.
So obviously, a consequence of not having your peak level of strength as an individual to execute your technical abilities on the pitch, the consequence is that you might have more injuries.
Yeah, exactly. It's exactly that. You're less robust. If somebody whacks you, you have less resistance to being whacked, but also you have less capability to produce force, which is strength. So if you jump, you are using a higher percentage of your maximum.
Yeah,
and so that you're more prone to fatigue because you're basically revving at 3,500 revs when you only have a capacity of 4,000 revs. If you increase that capacity to 5,000 revs, you're working at 60% capacity, and you can do that more often.
Yeah. And also, if we had the terrible injury season in COVID, we've had a terrible injury season this season, and if the strength and conditioning has been reduced, but in between that, we had last season where we had one of our best ever seasons in terms of injuries. Do you think, one, that we were fortunate last season, two, that they've kind of been conned by last season. So they thought that last season was it kind of justified this. It kind of justified this approach.
Maybe I was conned by last season.
I think we all were.
No, I was conned by our backroom staff. I believed that we had the most integrated, holistic, top-down sports science integrated approach in the world, and I couldn't have been more wrong.
Yorkshire side, if you're not trained enough to get the power right, you can't do the high pressing, can you? Repeatedly.
Yeah, exactly. So you
haven't got the capacity to do it.
Pressing requires acceleration, rapid acceleration, and rapid deceleration, and they have a really high metabolic cost.
So one thing I do understand, basically, from my cycling fans, is power to weight ratio. So are you saying that our power to weight ratio will always be low now because of the way we train our players?
Yeah, their idea is to I don't even know if it's a joined up idea. That's part of the problem, right? But old school thinking in footballers is keep them light, that then there'll be a lower energy demand for them to get around a pitch. They'll get less likely to get tired if you're carrying a small bag than if you've got a big bag.
Yeah.
Right. But here's the flaw in the philosophy. If you're not carrying a bag at all, if you are just a bigger person, you're not carrying anything because all of it is active. It actually helps you get around the pitch.
Yeah.
You're more efficient in doing so.
Yeah, we don't have fatties.
No.
So yeah,
we don't have fitties anymore either.
If you look at how the Premier League has developed over the last 20 years, like there have been waves of one or two teams changed and then everyone else did something to catch up. And there's been a couple of big demographic evolutions, and Wenger brought the first demographic evolution with a couple of big, huge 6-foot African origin players that had power and could get around the pitch in this way. And then everybody tried to copy them because it was impossible to compete with. And we very much were at the vanguard of one of those. 5 years ago, we threw in bigger lads. Klopp used to talk about the size, and our team are gradually getting smaller again. And even if you hear things leaked about Joe Gomez being too big, and Trent is too big now, and that's not the reason they're not good players. It's all
It's not the frame. It's not the muscular frame that's making them play bad.
No, not at all. It's an advantage.
So this is one we're talking about Newcastle. Is one of the things that struck me watching on the eye the Newcastle game earlier in the season was
how big they are,
how physical and how strong they were in the one-on-ones with us. And we just looked small and quite weak almost in comparison. Yeah,
Fab looks feeble.
Paul tracks the heights of teams, and Newcastle and Spurs are off the scale, but Newcastle and Spurs are the two tallest sides in terms of.
So is this mini Klopp Schlumberg? Is it him? Is it his strategy?
I'm not sure if anyone's got a specific total power over Klopp, but some people have more influence than others.
Because the Simon Hughes one definitely talked about Schlumberg's got a lot of influence in terms of the preeminent. He said I think he said there was a lot of tension, should we say, between two departments. I think it was physios and medics. I think. Yeah.
That's because if you're looking from the outside in and you don't actually understand what you're talking about,
right.
You go fitness and medicine.
Yeah, right, okay, but it's not that anyway. But there are different schools of sports science. You've always said this anyway. There's no single right answer. Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
But there is a difference between sports science and fitness.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being a fitness trainer is not being a sports scientist.
Yeah.
Does this not sound like the fact? I know we over-egg certain roles, but Edwards seems to have a pretty key role in keeping this all together. And now he's not here.
Yeah.
Things are not working. And the teams aren't talking. Teams aren't in synergy.
In terms of his remit as director of football, maybe that's one of the underlooked aspects.
Because Ward hasn't got that remit, has he? Ward's just
in theory, he's got the same. So
I thought he had a lesser role.
Well, in theory, he's got the same departments structure. All the same departments report into him. So, but
if you're making a movie, right, and you've got like a first-time director, and he is directing Brad Pitt and George Clooney, and they come to you and go, I'm not quite sure about these lines. The director just goes, okay. Like, you can't, I don't think you can overemphasize the power shift that's occurred at Liverpool. There's no way in the world Ward is Klopp's boss.
Yeah.
There's no way Ward's going to Klopp and saying, I think we should sign Mo Salah.
No.
He ain't doing that. He's saying, look, I've got another Portuguese guy who looks really good. I know he's played against you. How about we sign him?
Well, steady on.
No, but I'm just saying, like, there's no way.
It's the dynamic change. That's it. The dynamic is very much changed.
Okay.
And within the backroom staff, from the medical perspective, the backroom staff has changed 4 or 5 times significantly under Klopp.
Yeah. Right. So we talked about injuries. We mentioned Darwin. The other absentee for Forest was Thiago, but that wasn't an injury. That was just an ear infection. Yeah?
Yeah, by all accounts, he'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah, fine. So that's just antibiotics clear up. Right, fine. Now, one thing that you did put in our under pressure chat before Forest game, even before the lineups were announced, was you were really concerned about the state of the fatigue index side. Do you want to tell us why?
Yeah. You saying I wasn't?
No, you were saying you were concerned about fatigue index,
No, I'm
even going into Forest.
Not be with this the number of games that we have, and you can't mitigate the load across fewer number of players just because there are so many games. You got 2.5 days. There's no way to unplay those games.
Yeah.
And you just really have to get the loading right in the starting 11, particularly.
And that's why Hendo didn't play, right?
We currently have. So I'll share this in Discord, whatever. But the fatigue index is that you have to have a less than 30% increase week on week, basically across your monthly average of minutes played. And so this week you're obviously going to get Curtis Jones is going to be high because he hasn't played at all, so he's going to be off the charts. But even Harvey is double. And it needs to be less than 1.3. Mo's is 1.7. Bobby's is 1.7. Fab's is 1.5. Hendo's is 1.3. But we also have an added layer to this. In our midfield in particular, they have a chronic load threshold above which they have been injured repeatedly in the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And Fab, Hendo, Milner are all, and Joe Gomez are all significantly above their levels.
Yeah, so they're all big injury risks, those 4 players.
Big injury risks.
You also say that Henderson, even when he gets to 1.3, has got like a tipping point where anything above that, he usually gets injured, doesn't it?
Anything above 108 minutes a week, yeah.
Yeah, and that's the reason why he didn't start against Forest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because they know this. I've literally had conversations with them about it. Yeah, it's insane. And I think it's happened 17 times. It's a lot. Yeah. You guys have seen the graph.
Yeah. What's more worrying to me is that you've just highlighted that and Salah are also way above theirs. And I'm just like, oh, God, imagine losing them too as well.
But theirs is above their chronic load. So theirs is a fatigue index issue, but neither of those two are generally susceptible to injury. They're not big injury risks.
No. Yeah. Although Mo looked like he was carrying an injury to me on the weekend. He was that ineffective.
Oh, I just thought he was that ineffective because he was stood amongst four fellas and he had 4 fellas between him and the ball all the time as well. So it's impossible to actually get the ball or do anything with it when the ball's lumped up to your head. From 40 yards away. It was just the most bizarre way of playing with him.
So we talked about the injuries, the squad stretch. The condition of the squad is bad as well because of the schedule and then the load on the players. There's a lot of injuries. The only good news we have, Si, is that we have a number of players back in training, I guess. Obviously, we have Naby Keita back in training, Ibrahim Konate back in training. Anybody? It was another one as well. Who was the other one? Help me out, guys. Well, obviously not
training.
Well, we had Ox player the other day. For
Ox came back in.
Yeah, Jones came back, and Jones came. I'm sure there was another one. I thought it was
Ramsey. Ramsey's building his squad.
Oh, was it Ramsey? Is it?
I don't.
Okay.
Yeah, he's played his second academy game. So.
All right. Okay, I thought there was another first teamer as well as Canate and
No, Ramsey's
Keita.
down to the 20. He's fitting up 20 for 21s now.
Yeah.
Matip, you said Matip, you said?
Or maybe Matip.
Matip's in mid. I think he should be back after Ajax to training, but which Ajax begins 6 games in 18 days.
Yeah. Same shit again.
Well, it's actually a slightly more intense, but yeah, same shit again.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
We had that 5-day break, didn't we? At the first part of this period.
Yeah, it was.
Did you hear what Klopp said after Forest? He said, and Des Clay said, we're next to Amsterdam. And he says, yeah, but that's 5 days away. It'd be like a holiday.
And obviously, boys, if it is such an intense period and people are getting rested, there are no days to work on anything, are there?
No, God, there's no days to work on anything. That's
training.
why it even makes less sense to me that we change formation.
I agree with that.
Yeah. All right, let's finish off covering by the thing that saddened you the most, Si, I think, other than the Yankees, of course, is that the identity crisis that, 7 years playing 4-3-3, buying players for a 4-3-3, perfecting the 4-3-3, all age group levels throughout the club playing 4-3-3 to prepare the players for the first team. And we're now 4-4-2. We're now Roy Hodgson, 2 banks of 4. How did it come to this, Si?
It's all about trying. It's that age-old Rafa using the blanket to cover a bed that's too big thing.
Yeah.
And our blanket is getting smaller, and so instead of changing the blanket, he just has to move it around even more and try to make the bed smaller somehow. That's basically what he's trying to do right now, because our lads can't get around the bed. The crazy thing is that it's not just about formation. It's about identity. It's about how we play. It's about how each individual fulfills the role on the pitch. If we get kids come up from the under 21s, they've been doing a thing for their whole lives, and they'll come into our team and go, nope, don't do that.
Yeah.
It makes no sense. And I can only see it's Dave. I would quite like an actual conversation with Dave and Sam Maguire, because they both fancy this thing. I don't know why, and they defend it and say that we have so many players that are suited to this thing, and I just
4-2-3-1.
I don't get it. And what do you think? Who do you think is actually suited to this? There's a difference between suited and well rehearsed, and previously did it a number of years ago.
So I would say, right, if you've got, because we was talking about getting Salah central, and this has kind of enabled that to an extent. So that's fine. And then if you had Diaz stretching the play on the left, but then who would be stretching the play on the right? Jota.
Diaz doesn't stretch play on the left, though. He doesn't. He plays inside all the time.
I think he does it more than Elliot or Carvalho. But yeah, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just trying to think of players in these positions. I think maybe Fabinho in a holder with a double pivot might suit it. But again, because that's what he did before he got to us. But again, he did it so well as a single with 2 ahead of him. Then it doesn't quite make sense. Again, yeah, I don't know. I tend to think that this 4-4-2 might be like a plaster based on the fact that we didn't have many other options
Until the World Cup.
And so just something to cover the injury crisis. I'm not saying it is, and I'll be disappointed if Klopp carries on with something like this when we have a fitter, more players available.
I
don't know the answer to that.
There's potentially that, but could I ask one thing? Why wouldn't you change it? Like, if you're going to create a system to get 4 attackers in, which I'm all on board with, if you think that's what we need, why would you continue with it when those 4 attackers aren't available anymore?
I agree. I agree with you. I agree with that, particularly for the Forest game. I agree.
The thing is, the thing I don't like about this 4-4-2 is it so basic, as Si said. There's no depth in it. There's no if it was like I don't know, 4-2-3-1, whatever you want to call it. What numbers are kind of irrelevant, but it's just so flat. It's 2 lines of 4.
Which game you were saying there was the interchange in there going on?
Yeah, that was earlier on. That was Rangers, though, wasn't it? And maybe that's the reason. It was our position that allowed us to do that. But in the games where the opposition haven't allowed us to do that, we end up playing 2 banks of 4.
If you remember, I think
boring. I've
always been worried about the Rangers game. I was worried about Bournemouth. I was worried about Rangers, that we would just get hard about battering a terrible team that suited us, and we would make uninformed decisions on this one game. And I think that's exactly what's happened. Yeah. I think now Mo Salah as a centre forward is absurd.
Maybe. I'm not so sure about that. I'm not sure, but yeah.
Well, in a game where you can't counter-attack, it's
you're taking it out, aren't you? If you're going to play counter-attacking football, fine, Mo down the middle works. But otherwise,
it's not even down the middle. You can't have him this high up the pitch. You can't have him this far away from everybody else. He doesn't
without having support to him.
Against Forest, he had 0 meters of progressive passing.
We're just trying to recreate the Carlos Queiroz environment for him.
Oh God!
That's exactly what it was like. He must have been absolutely livid against Forest. Livid.
Are we in agreement that we think Klopp's got has had a lot of muddled thinking in the last 6 weeks?
I think he's had muddled thinking since the end of last season.
That he hasn't got the clarity. I'm not sure about that, because I think.
I don't think he's had a. Come on, really? Has any game this season made sense to you? Any game?
No. We've had questions all season.
We've had questions all season. So really, for me, the thinking hasn't been clear from the start of the season, which goes back then to pre-season.
Well, actually, no. Apart from the Charity Shield, sorry.
Yeah, but that's all right. Charity Shield, but as
we thought it was going to be Bosch continuation. Here we go.
For sure. Whereas it turns out it was the last dance.
Is there a surprise that all our players look like they have no clarity of thought?
Yeah,
not at all.
Yeah.
When you break it down to that, no, it doesn't. And you sort of actually us doing the old thing, the thing that won us the title, in a less physical way, is probably still better than what we're trying to do now. Because players know what they're going to do in these positions.
My biggest concern still is even more than the tactics. It's just the physical condition of the squad. I just don't know what has happened to the physical capacity of the players.
That has explained that, hasn't it?
Yeah, but
we've also got old in front of your eyes.
Yeah, but we showed that we can still run 119k,
and we can't do the sprints
against City, But anyway,
Darth, you tomorrow could go and run a marathon. Yeah. It wouldn't be very fast, but you could finish on a day. But then you wouldn't be able to walk for a month.
It's the recovery. It's but that's
what I mean. That's what I'm saying. It's the physical condition. So we can't do it repeatedly anymore. And so what has happened to these players now? And the thing is, and it's not just the older players. I'm picking because Fabinho is only 28, right? Trent is only 24, and Trent looks the one who's the most physically affected of all of them. I just don't know. I don't know how to explain him.
That's a fair point with Trent. I mean, we have touched upon, even in the last season, that Klopp does run his midfield players ragged. They don't have a long life expectancy.
Yeah.
So Fab being the way he is doesn't surprise me. Okay, that might be a shock to you all, but he's been with us for 4 or 5 years. He's done a hell of a lot more miles than any other midfielder in his position, probably. That doesn't surprise me that he looks ragged. Trent, yeah, all right, I get you that. That's. I am surprised by his lack of conditioning and his game overall. I don't understand.
But Rob, Rhodesy said he got outpaced against the Forest game.
and that's what I don't. It's like there's a lot of things going on with Trent at the moment. Clearly, right? If anything he does is in the media, and that's gonna affect him. But previously, he just didn't seem to affect him. It didn't bother him that he wasn't getting picked for England. Do you know what I mean? He just came in and did his job.
No, it did definitely bother him that he didn't get play for England. But he had the difference is that other players around him, they afforded him time to take a breath, and now he doesn't have that because everybody else is shite.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
Like all of these layers of everything are They're just so interwoven, and there's none of it is upside. With Trent, if you think of the change in roles this year, he basically was the only one that had an expanded role physically. Everybody else has got smaller,
yeah.
And Trent's go running up and down in a straight line. There is less distance to cover than coming in 30 yards and out and up and down.
Yeah.
Anyway, so the question is for me, can that come back, say? Can the physical capacity and the physical conditioning come back? I mean, I said to you in the chat the other day, is it possible that the squad is actually improved after the World Cup? And you said
not this season.
Not this season.
No, I think there is a possibility we could find some kind of high intensity form after Christmas. Because weirdly, unlike most seasons, games become less frequent in the second half of the season. So there is that possibility. Alongside, there has to be, like, the older players have to stop playing.
I agree with that.
And those younger players have better legs.
And then we get more injured players back as well.
Yeah.
They don't have to be managed right.
Sure.
Just a counterpoint, boys. In our last four games, we've had 5 big chances, 3 big chances, and 4. So that's 17. That's an average of 4, more than 4 per game.
Set piece.
No, not in all those games, right?
No.
Not in all those games. We had 4 big chances against Man City from open play. We had 4 against Rangers. We had 2 against West Ham, and we only had 1 against Forest. But what I'm saying is we've only scored 3 of those. The 7 we scored against Rangers, not a lot of them were big chances. 3 of them.
A big chance conversion is going to go up because it's been shit.
Yeah, I'm just saying there are certain counterpoints to that.
But isn't there a caveat in that? If you add the context of those games, Rangers are shit and play in a way that we should absolutely.
But so were Forest, and they beat us.
Yeah, but they're not. No, they're not.
They're not that bad.
They're not in the Premier League level of shit. And Forest did things to beat us. Rangers did the things that we like to play against. And Man City are the Man City were there that we could counter on. They give us the opportunity to counter.
I think Rose's point is valid. Though. We will score.
Did.
We will start to score more within the chances we get. There's no question about that. I think. I don't.
Is diabolical.
Yeah.
Sorry, what did you say?
It should be around about 8. Now I'm not. All I'm saying is there's certain game state factors as well. Whereas if like what Si was saying earlier, if we're a couple of set pieces, so Virgil scores at header or Carvalho scores that big chance against Forest, and they might capitulate, and then we run up 5 or 6.
Yeah.
So there's certain game state issues, as we talked about in the first 6 games of the season, when we kept conceding the first.
God. I mean, we've gone off for ages now, but the decision making against Forest. Oh my God,
ridiculous.
So if there's a slight game state switch in our favour, if there's an improvement in their injuries, if we go back to
but you say that, Rhodesy, though, but we were 1-0 up against West Ham and conceded 5 big chances. So.
Absolutely, I agree with that. But that wasn't that. I don't think that was systematic. I thought that was absolutely
just bad defending. Right? Yeah, we agree on that. Right, boys. To finish off, any other business?
No. Can we talk about cricket? I wonder, Joe.
I'm more depressed now than I was at the weekend. And I lost to Forest twice last week.
Yeah, you must be. That's bad, mate.
Fucking hate Forest.
Derby boy.
No, it's got nothing to do with Derby. I hate Derby too. But Forest were the main opposition when I was a kid.
Yeah, but Cloughie's Forest.
Exactly.
Barts, anything from you?
No, I'd love to be able to offer a crumb of comfort, but there isn't any.
Oh, savage. That's savage. Right.
Yeah, pick one thing. So I think it's a good thing to do. One thing that we can realistically project is going to change in a positive way. Darth.
We don't concede another penalty before the World Cup.
Nice.
Big chance conversion rate.
The reduction of giving away big chances the other way around.
Wow, that's optimistic.
I think that's the biggest one, Phil. I think that's
I know, that's the key.
I think
Well, actually, not giving away pens will help with that.
Go on, Si.
I'm very predictable. Mo will go on a run of banging a few in.
Yeah. No more injuries.
I don't think that's even possible.
Right.
We got
Anyway.
lads that are injured. Injury is the greatest predictor of future injury.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Right. That has been your Under Pressure podcast for this week. We will be back next Monday for Ajax and Leeds. Until then, up the Reds.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.